Hey, the average Joe here, doing above average work using the software HVAC solution. So after my last video, I had a few of you reach out and want to know how to do a couple items. So I thought I'd take this week's training and just show you answer those questions. One of them was, okay, I want to swap these spaces around, and so I'm going to highlight the ductwork, right click with my mouse and do connector annotations. We'll just look at the size. So you see there's some different sizes here. So if you're trying to have these lay out in the way that they were laying out on your floor plan, you just click on space 4, hold the shift down, go to space 2, right click with your mouse, and you'll see the swap two components. And you'll see that 4 will now come in the spot of 2, and 2 will be in the outer spot. So that allows you to kind of order these in the way that the floor plan might be. The same thing is true with any hydronic coil. You could just click on them as well, and then say you want to swap those two around. You'll see T2 will go up to T1, and so now all that data is transferred. So once again, the coils could be laid out the way they're laying out on your floor plan if you want to use this to size all the pipes. That was one of the questions that was asked. Also, another one was, you have a project here, and once again, on an airflow diagram, we like to create an air handler. And when we do that, we create a custom air handler. So you'll see on this air handler that, you can have different lengths and widths and heights, wall thickness, base thickness, and size those and change those how you like. We also have a duplicate, obviously, fan, coils, filters, and dampers. They all appear in an airflow diagram. And this allows you to see temperatures. For instance, the temperature with the outside air I have mixing with the return air is 64 degrees. So that coil right there is not doing any heating. Once that coil drops down, and that's because I have the reheat here out in the coil. But once that temperature drops down, then you'll see that they'll start heating, and that's why there's no load down here on that heating coil. So that's really not needed in the system. But we like to show temperatures in the airflow diagram as well as airflow and whatnot. And then obviously the hydronic, there's a duplicate one showing how they relate to boilers and chillers, the generation system and hydronic system. So that's typically when we create a system, we do all three. Now, that doesn't mean you always have to do three. Many times the user will come along and say, well, I've got a future load here. They'll come to the hydronic tab and come over here and just say, it's going to be a future building. It's going to serve maybe a little office. And then you can come in that imposed load and type in, that's going to be this many BTUs, 40,000 of future cooling there, just a very small load. And then you can hook that into the system as an imposed load. And you'll see that now transferred down to my chiller, and pipes got larger, pumps got a little bit bigger. Then if that was a future load, you can click on that in every component. This was another question that was asked. We have a classification here. Is that existing to remain, existing to be demolished, new, or future? That's future, so it kind of shows it different. Now that load is still shown in the system here as a future load. If you wanted to use our scenario manager down here, then you could go in and create another scenario and see the scenario with the future load and the scenario maybe with the load now by just creating another scenario. Remember, you can create up to 24 different scenarios using different equipment and temperatures trying to model something. So that's another real powerful feature on that. So those were two of the questions that were asked that people were kind of wanting to see. Another thing, let me just select this chiller. Okay, right now you see there's no manufacturer model number, so I can come into type and I can decide that I'd like it to be an air mech chiller. Okay, so any component at any time, you can select on that, and now you'll see there's some peak shading. If you hit the thumbs up button, anything that had a pink shading, if the pink goes away, it made a selection. So it just selected all that equipment right in there. Obviously, an imposed load doesn't have that. And now I go in, and once again, there's my selection, dimensions and weights. So at any time, you can come in and do a type and just say, you know what, I would like to look at, you know, free cooling. Now you'll see the type changes as well. And I can do a selection on that. So any pump, once you do a selection, if you want to go in and type, that was a KS series, but maybe you want to look at a 1900 series. By doing that with the Takeo product, now you'll see I've got a little different pump there. So I just need to flip that sideways, bring it up there. And now I need to do a selection on that again. And then get, so it kind of selected that, not too efficient, 50%, but now I have all the performance and head and pump curve on that. So you can kind of switch from pump type to see what is the most efficient pump to serve, that given head and flow. Now remember, at any time you can click on that and right click and we show you the pump path that makes up that 61 feet ahead. The same thing is true on a fan system. This is kind of neat to show. Here is my pressure drop of my supply fan system, right? I don't have any lengths in here. If I actually add a big length onto that, 800 feet, you see the head go up. It gives me the static pressure. And the pump drop now, all goes well here. It's now going to go out to there. Now that's what makes up the different static pressure. You'll see we have 3 inches for heating and just about 3.5 for cooling. A ½ inch down here. The return fan would be that right there. Now, if we got rid of the return fan, a lot of systems don't need one. They just allow for the supply fan to handle the static all the way out in the system and back to the air handler. Now you'll see my static pressure went up for the supply fan to handle that static. And now if I look at this, you'll see that, hey, it's got to get out to the farthest system, come back and get the air out. So that's another little feature that we like to make people aware of on the project. Anyway, wanted to just clarify a couple of those items and show those in this weekly video. Hey, thanks for watching.